The own goal that cost a life, the tragic story of Andrés Escobar. In football, goals decide fates. But for one man, a single goal decided his death. This is the story of Andrés Escobar, a hero, a gentleman, and a victim of a nation's darkest shadows. He was Colombia's star defender, a symbol of hope, until an own goal at the 1994 World Cup turned him into a target. 10 days later, he was shot 6 times in a parking lot. Was it revenge? Gambling? Or something deeper? Let's unravel the tragedy that shook the world. Act 1: The Rise of a Hero. Born in Medellin, Andrés Escobar grew up in a middle-class family, far from the drug violence that plagued his city. Football was his escape. By 20, he'd become a defensive titan for Atlético Nacional, leading them to a historic Copa Libertadores win in 1989. His calmness earned him the nickname, the gentleman, a rarity in Colombia's chaotic football scene. By 1994, Escobar was the backbone of Colombia's golden generation. Pelé himself tipped them to win the World Cup. But behind the glory lurked a sinister force: drug cartels. Colombian football was drowning in narcoball. Cartels like Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel pumped millions into clubs, turning players into pawns. Win, and you lived. Lose. The stakes were deadly. Act 2: The 1994 World Cup disaster. Colombia entered the 1994 World Cup as dark horses. Their 5-0 demolition of Argentina sent shockwaves. Even Argentine fans applauded. But in the US, the pressure cracked them. June 22, 1994. A routine cross from John Harkes. Escobar stretches, deflects the ball into his own net. The US wins 2-1. Colombia's dreams evaporate. Rumors swirled, cartel bosses had bet millions on Colombia. Escobar's error cost them dearly. Back home, death threats flooded in. Yet Escobar refused to hide. Life doesn't end here, he wrote in his final column. Act 3: The Murder and its Aftermath. July 2, 1994. Escobar visited a Medellin nightclub, seeking solace. As he left, 3 men cornered him. Witnesses heard shouts of "GOL," a taunt for each bullet fired. He bled out within minutes. The killer, Humberto Castro Muñoz, was a cartel bodyguard. He confessed but served only 11 years. Many believe he was a scapegoat for powerful gamblers. Over 120,000 mourners flooded his funeral. Today, his statue in Medellin stands as a reminder not of a mistake, but of a man who loved football more than life. Act 4: Legacy and Unanswered Questions. Escobar's ghost still haunts Colombian football. In 2018, midfielder Carlos Sanchez faced identical threats after a World Cup error. "They'll kill you like Escobar," tweets warned. But Escobar's legacy isn't fear, it's hope. His family's foundation teaches disadvantaged kids to play, while documentaries like The Two Escobars expose the rot of narcoball. 2 Escobars, 2 legacies, one a drug lord, the other a hero. Andrés' story isn't just about football, it's about a nation's struggle for redemption. Andrés Escobar's tragedy reminds us that football is more than a game. It's a mirror of society's best and worst. His final words: "Life doesn't end here." And for Colombia, it didn't. Andrés Escobar's tragedy reminds us that football is more than a game. It's a mirror of society's best and worst. His final words: "Life doesn't end here." And for Colombia. Act 5: The dark underbelly of football and crime. But the story doesn't end with Andrés Escobar's murder. His death exposed the terrifying grip of organized crime on football, not just in Colombia, but worldwide. The 1994 World Cup was supposed to be a celebration of the sport, but behind the scenes, billions were wagered, and lives were on the line. Investigations later revealed that drug cartels had infiltrated the Colombian national team. Some players were allegedly threatened before matches, forced to throw games or risk their family's safety. Escobar, known for his integrity, refused to be part of it, and paid the ultimate price. Years later, FIFA would launch massive anti-corruption campaigns, but in 1994, the system was broken. The question remains, was Escobar's own goal truly an accident, or something more sinister? Act 5, the dark underbelly of football and crime. But the story doesn't end with Andrés Escobar's murder. His death exposed the terrifying grip of organized crime on football, not just in Colombia, but worldwide. The 1994 World Cup was supposed to be a celebration of the sport, but behind the scenes, billions were wagered, and lives were on the line. Investigations later revealed that drug cartels had infiltrated the Colombian national team. Some players were allegedly threatened before matches, forced to throw games or risk their family's safety. Escobar, known for his integrity, refused to be part of it, and paid the ultimate price. Years later, FIFA would launch massive anti-corruption campaigns, but in 1994, the system was broken. The question remains, was Escobar's own goal truly an accident, or something more sinister? Act 6, the psychological toll on players. Andrés Escobar's tragedy forces us to ask, what happens to players who make mistakes under the world spotlight? The pressure is unimaginable, millions watching, careers on the line, and sometimes, even their lives. Players like Roberto Baggio and David Beckham faced public crucifixion for their errors. But in Colombia, the stakes were life and death. The fear of failure wasn't just about losing, it was about surviving. In his last days, Escobar wrote, "Football is a game of errors, but in Colombia, errors are not forgiven." His words echo today as players still face abuse, death threats, and mental health crises after high-profile mistakes. Act 7, the fight for justice. After Escobar's murder, his family fought tirelessly for justice. But the truth was buried deep. The killer, Humberto Castro Muñoz, was convicted, but many believe the real masterminds, powerful cartel bosses and gambling kingpins, walked free. A leaked police report suggested that Escobar had been marked for death before the World Cup. His own goal was merely the excuse they needed. But with Colombia's justice system crippled by corruption, the full story may never be known. Yet, Escobar's legacy lives on. His family's foundation uses football to steer kids away from crime. His name is now a rallying cry against violence in sports. But the fight isn't over. This is more than just a football tragedy. It's a story about passion, corruption, and the price of a mistake. If Andrés Escobar's journey moved you, if it made you think, or if it opened your eyes to the dark side of the sport we love, then do this for me. Hit like if this story deserves to be heard. Subscribe for more untold stories from the shadows of sports history. Share this video so the world remembers Andrés Escobar, not for his mistake, but for his legacy. Every like, every share, every new subscriber keeps his memory alive. Let's turn this tragedy into a lesson, one that reaches millions. Because stories like this, they shouldn't just disappear.